Traveling, relaxing, moving. People don't necessarily think about being pedestrians. They are business people crossing city traffic, children dashing into a neighborhood street. Every 5 minutes, every single day, a pedestrian is injured. In fact, 1 in every 5 traffic fatalities is a pedestrian. At some point, virtually every day, we are all pedestrians. And as pedestrians, we face certain risks. During the average lifetime, a person stands a 1 in 400 chance of dying in a pedestrian-vehicle collision. Because of recent public acceptance of seatbelts, tougher drinking and driving measures, child restraints, and slower speed limits, overall traffic injuries and fatalities are being reduced in this country. But the number of pedestrian accidents, injuries, and deaths has remained largely unchanged for the past 10 years. How can we reduce pedestrian accidents the way we've reduced other kinds of highway accidents? What can localities do to help pedestrians protect themselves? A good start is through comprehensive pedestrian safety programs. While each program will differ according to an area's particular needs, all pedestrian safety programs have in common the 3 E's: engineering, education, and enforcement. The Walk Alert Pedestrian Safety Program is one such program that was developed for the Federal Highway Administration, FHWA, by the National Safety Council. Walk Alert, like many effective pedestrian safety programs, balances the 3 E's. The first of these E's involves the use of engineering devices, such as sidewalks and crosswalks, which prevent conflicts between walkers and drivers. Engineering devices are found mainly in cities because about 90% of all pedestrian accidents and nearly 3/4 of all pedestrian fatalities occur in urban areas. Engineering solutions work in suburban and rural areas as well. Pedestrian accidents are not just a city problem. In fact, 1/4 of all pedestrian fatalities occur in rural areas, largely because of higher speeds on rural roads. What kinds of engineering devices should localities, both urban and rural, install to make streets safer walking environments? Sidewalks are the most prevalent type of traffic engineering device. Sidewalks work by physically separating automobile traffic from pedestrian traffic. Crosswalks, another engineering device, channel pedestrians to the safest route across a street. Medians in wide streets serve as a stopping place for pedestrians who have crossed one direction of traffic and are waiting to cross another. Physical barriers keep pedestrians away from high volumes of traffic. Bus stops located on the far side of an intersection encourage people to cross behind the bus so they can be seen by car drivers, especially those making turns. Overpasses and underpasses are expensive engineering devices designed to physically separate pedestrians and vehicles. Pedestrian traffic signals, found mostly in cities, display a walk, don't walk message or use figures rather than words to warn pedestrians. No turn on red signs can be used at intersections where there are a high number of pedestrians wishing to cross. These 8 types of engineering devices help to physically prevent pedestrian accidents. They are, unfortunately, not 100% effective. Because human nature tends toward the quickest route possible, pedestrians don't always obey traffic signals that make them wait, or use crosswalks that make them take a less direct route. Drivers don't always give pedestrians the right of way. Pedestrians don't always consider the needs of the driver. And an engineering fix for one group may cause problems for another. Curb ramps are designed to improve access for wheelchair users, for example. But the curb ramps may cause problems for other users, such as the blind, who may need the curbs to determine where sidewalks end and the street begins. Some things work better for some communities than for others. Local officials need to decide which engineering devices will be most effective for their areas. While local areas can install engineering devices to help prevent pedestrian accidents, pedestrians must take some responsibility for their own safety. For example, one study revealed that 70% of all pedestrian accidents were the fault of the pedestrian, and only 30% were the fault of the driver. Localities can promote pedestrian responsibility, however, through education, the second E of pedestrian safety. Education, especially safety education, starts with parents in the home. More young people die each year in traffic accidents than from any other cause. Young children tend to focus on only one thing at a time, and so they don't automatically realize the danger involved when they run into the street while playing. For different reasons, it's also difficult to convince older children and adults of the importance of pedestrian safety. It's hard for adults to conceive of the dangers involved in being an ordinary walker or jogger. But the dangers are there for all types of pedestrians, for all different age groups. Adults should be reminded of basic pedestrian rules, such as the fact that pedestrians in a crosswalk have the right of way, and the fact that the flashing "don't walk" signal actually means "don't start." Adults also can be cautioned that there are about 10% more pedestrian deaths at night than during the day. Even though fewer people are out at night, visibility is worse. Adults should learn pedestrian safety measures so they can protect and educate their children and themselves. And handicapped adults should learn about the special pedestrian safety measures that have been designed specifically for them, such as curb ramps for the wheelchair-bound and audible traffic signals for the blind. It is especially imperative for older adults to learn about pedestrian safety because the risks for the elderly are so much greater than for any other age group. Even minor accidents tend to be much more incapacitating to the elderly than they are to the young, and many accidents that would be serious for others are fatal to the elderly. In fact, 21% of pedestrian accident victims who die are 65 years of age or older. Adults of all ages who drive should also be reminded of their driving responsibilities toward pedestrians. Overall, pedestrians and drivers need to work together to prevent unnecessary accidents. In addition to engineering and education, the third key to pedestrian safety is enforcement. High-profile police campaigns against jaywalking, crossing against the light, or public drunkenness encourage pedestrians to comply with laws designed to keep them safe. Enforcement can also be directed at drivers. Drivers who don't yield at crosswalks, for example, or who exceed posted speed limits in residential zones pose a very real hazard to pedestrians. Effective pedestrian safety also involves the enforcement of drunk driving and public drunkenness laws. Nearly half of the fatalities among pedestrians between the ages of 16 and 59 is due to alcohol impairment on the part of the pedestrian. In developing comprehensive pedestrian safety programs, localities need to emphasize all aspects of the 3 E's. In fact, the best pedestrian safety programs strike a working balance between engineering, education, and enforcement of pedestrian safety. How do you find this balance? It starts with determining how many and what kinds of pedestrian safety problems you have in your area. This type of information can be collected from 3 sources: citizen complaints, studies of accidents by types and causes, and analyses of unsafe behaviors on the part of drivers and pedestrians. Armed with this kind of data, localities can then determine possible solutions, implement the best solution, then evaluate the solution's effectiveness. More detailed information on this process is available in the Model Pedestrian Safety Program User's Guide, available from the Federal Highway Administration. FHWA has this and other resources available to help localities develop their pedestrian safety programs. Pedestrian safety programs send a message to citizens that their communities care, and communities can encourage pedestrian safety through programs that balance engineering, education, and enforcement.